A municipal budget is not a fascinating read to most, but it is a very valuable document to understand what and who is prioritized and to provide specific projects or programs that can be targeted by local organizers, either for increased funding or abolishment. Every year, the City of Rochester's budget includes a community input report summarizing residents' responses from in-person events, a telephone town hall, and an online survey. Hundreds of residents respond every year, but one would be hard-pressed to actually find how their input has been applied. With the recent release of the proposed 2025 to 26 $680 million budget, Rochesterians will again ask, why are we being ignored? The online survey this year asked participants to rank 28 specific city services by their essentialness, ranging from refuse collection to public arts funding to the Rock the Riverway project. Some options were very vague, like safety in Rochester, separately listed from fire, EMS, and police services and crime prevention, to the very specific mentions of emergency repair housing grants, rehab grants and loans, and homebuyer assistance, to the undefined alternate first response models. Some of the services ranked least essential were downtown development and development of riverfront, aka Rock the Riverway, at 20% and 15% of respondents, respectively. The city's budget over the years has not reflected that most people don't find these essential. The Rock the Riverway project alone was proposed at $500 million, almost an entire year's budget. In-person and online participants also completed the Budget Bucks activity, a participatory budgeting tool where one can choose how they would allocate a hypothetical $1,000 into 10 categories. Housing received the highest allocation at 17%, and violence prevention followed closely, receiving 15%. Police and community relations only received 10%. Now, the Budget Bucks activity didn't include some essential services like water maintenance or refuse collection, but if we could truly spend the proposed budget on the priorities residents have identified, what would that look like? Based on this year's budget of $680,455,000, 17% would mean $115,677,350 to spend on safe, quality housing for all residents. The current proposed budget for the housing office is $895,000. That is 0.8% of what Rochesterians want spent on housing. But what do Rochesterians mean by wanting more invested in housing? Going back to the city services listed in the survey, you never know that approximately 2/3 of Rochesterians are tenants. The only city services that mention housing are services for homeowners, emergency repair grants, rehab grants and loans, and homebuyer assistance. Where do residents have the chance to list affordable housing, rental assistance, or housing first programs as priorities? If we actually allocated 15% of the proposed budget to violence prevention, that would mean $102,068,250 to spend on youth intervention programs, mediation, and other programs with proven success. The current proposed budget for the Office of Violence Prevention is $3,243,100, only 3.2% of what Rochesterians want invested. On the flip side of the coin, police and community relations received 10% of allocated funds, still a sizable amount. 10% of the total budget would be $68,045,500. The proposed RPD budget this year is $115,436,800, 70% over what residents would spend. As of 2025, there are 110 police officer vacancies. According to the upcoming budget, RPD estimates 27 newly hired police officers will complete the academy, with an estimated 40 officers separating from employment. By RPD's own estimates, the number of vacancies will continue to grow as that money continues to be allocated for empty positions. If we eliminated the empty positions that exist now, estimating salary and benefits to be around $150,000, we'd have $16,500,000 to invest in programs that Rochesterians actually want. If the public was heard, how would our budget actually be spent? What would reinvesting in the community look like? Rochester could have a true housing first model, providing permanent housing to people without first requiring sobriety, getting a job, or completion of a financial education program, to list some of the common barriers people face when seeking long-term housing. A housing first model ensures a level of stability and safety that makes seeking mental health care or finding a job much easier and more successful. Rental assistance can be a huge help for people at risk of losing their housing. Loss of income, health issues, or unexpected expenses can push people in a stable situation into eviction. Evictions are on the rise and are on pace to double last year's numbers. The rate of homelessness in the county increased 31% last year. The rates of unsheltered and chronic homelessness almost doubled from last year. Providing a few $100s a month to households near eviction can keep people in their homes and off the streets. The average rent in Rochester for a one-bedroom apartment is $1,464 a month. The city's financial support of housing development, prioritizing market rate units, is contributing to displacing its own residents. In the projects that need funding section of the budget is affordable housing, but it's not what most would consider affordable housing. 25% of total units set aside for eligible households sounds more like market rate housing with a few affordable units thrown in. Instead of pouring millions of grants into these projects, the city could fund projects that are solely affordable units, particularly growing the amount of public housing. Through changes to the restrictive zoning codes, investments could also be made into developing alternate types of housing, such as cottage housing or accessory dwelling units, or helping people age in place. Rhode Island has recently opened an overdose prevention center with $2.6 million allocated for the first year of operation. Overdose prevention centers provide harm reduction for those using drugs by providing clean needles and testing strips, to referring people to rehabilitation services. $2.6 million is a significant amount, but it will save people's lives as well as reducing the costs for services such as 911 call responses and healthcare related to drug use. Rochester is creating an action team, a unit of community responders that will respond to non-urgent 911 calls like trespassing or welfare checks. The program is still in development, so it's not clear what the annual cost would be at full development, but this unit could expand to other types of calls, such as writing incident reports for minor car accidents or resolving disputes between neighbors. Rather than be confronted by a badge and a gun, residents can receive referrals to mental health services or mediation. It's clear that Rochesterians want more from their local government, but are being ignored. We can have a Rochester where residents are prioritized over real estate developers and the police locust club. We can advocate for and win a community that takes care of each other. A better Rochester is possible.